So I don't know about you guys, but I was really kind of sad to see the Olympics be over. Always been an Olympics person. I love sports and I love watching the countries of the world kind of come together in a sense of unity. And there's so many spiritual lessons that are kind of like displayed and on point with the Olympic experience. And last Sunday, I don't know if you caught it, but the Summer Olympics in Tokyo kind of came to a close in this beautiful ceremony. And one of the events that I watch a lot in the Olympics, especially the Summer Olympics, because that's the only Olympics it's in, are women's gymnastics. Gymnastics in general, but women's gymnastics in particular. I hope you caught some of that competition because I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. So I've been a fan of gymnastics since I was in the 7th grade, and I happened to watch a competitive practice, a team practice in our junior high school gymnasium. I was waiting for someone to come pick me up, and I just had to stand there and wait in the gym, and I was fascinated. And ever since then, I've tried to kind of pick up on when the NCAA meets are happening, and I always watch it on the Olympics. And I've watched these athletes just dedicate everything to their sport, hours and hours of practice, practically their whole lives to compete at that level. But what fascinated me this time as I watched the gymnastics was the fact that before the women go out to compete, they pause for a large dose of sparkle, right? There is so much sparkle involved. I mean, have you noticed? You know what I'm talking about? Here are these elite athletes, elite top of their sport athletes with the most amazing technical skills and balance and acrobatics and speed. And here are these elite athletes with the highest level of athletic training that has resulted in these perfectly chiseled bodies and muscles and all of that. And they're covered in sparkles, right? Their leotard sparkle, their makeup sparkles, even the music they play during the floor exercise seems to just sparkle a little bit, doesn't it? Why? Why all the sparkle? Why do they pause for sparkle? So I actually did a little research because that's what ministers do before they do a lesson about sparkle. They research why, right? It turns out these sparkles serve several purposes. One is to attract the attention of the judges, literally to draw their eyes to watch them do what they're doing as closely as possible. And another purpose is to serve the fashion craving that these adolescents share. I mean, these are really young girls doing this. And the third reason I read about was that the sparkles are a reward for the sacrifices they make. You see, these leotards for them are like their prom dresses. And actually, the investment they make in these leotards is stunning. If you look it up, these are very expensive pieces of clothing, more expensive than prom dresses, and actually along the lines of how much a wedding dress would cost. And so all of this sparkle came about due to the insistence of Marta Caroli. She's that long-standing women's gymnastics. She and her husband were very, very influential in the gymnastics world, some of the longest-running coaches of the U.S. team. And she felt like it was in her gut that the more sparkle, the more the girls would have fun and enjoy what they were doing, and therefore perform higher. So fun. Speaking of fun, I was watching interviews with them, and the word kept coming up. Fun. They would say things like, I just go out there and have fun. Or, if I'm not having fun, I'm not doing my best. So maybe the sparkles are part of that fun, that enthusiasm. So my talk title today is Pausing to Sparkle. I want to talk about the importance of keeping an element of fun and beauty and creativity in your spiritual growing process. Sometimes we can get so serious around here, right? And it helps to just kind of pause for some sparkle and some laughter and some fun. So that's kind of been our intention around here this summer. Our whole summer camp idea was based around the idea that learning about spirituality and how to apply it in our lives just didn't have to be all serious all the time, right? We planned sessions that were designed to help us reclaim some of our lightheartedness. And, that lightheartedness kind of, we've lost it a little bit in the pandemic and the experience we've had for the past year or so. We lost some of that. So we were trying to reclaim that in this summer camp. So I hope you took advantage of that. I know that yesterday there was a big group of us around here painting and sparkling and metallics, and Kim's applauding because it really was a great time yesterday. But we were seriously trying to support you all as a community in reclaiming your lives. And we wanted to add this element of fun practicality. And we added a little bit more fun, didn't we? We did a movie night, we did a game night, and as I said, next Sunday we're going to go to the beach and head over there for a sunset, a drum circle. It's kind of a closing ceremony of our own camp. Why? Why do you think we did summer this way? We did it to add some sparkle to our leotards, so to speak. We are like gymnasts around here. We're stretching our spiritual muscles all the time. We are trying to work out these kind of the uneven bars of relationships. We're working on that. We kind of walk the balance beam in our careers of how do we balance being a spiritual being and a human being in a world that we have to make money, and we focus on our health and do this whole routine to help us be stronger physically. We study about how to live spiritually in all of those areas, and we're always trying to add a little new element to our spiritual routine. We're challenging our fears that keep us from kind of landing badly, and stepping out of bounds. We're always trying to kind of nudge ourselves into greater and greater competence as we live as spiritual beings. And as the months and years go by, we get pretty good at that stuff. We're feeling pretty satisfied with the elements that we've strung together in the routines of our lives. So this summer, and especially today, I'm encouraging all of us to kind of pause a minute for some sparkle. In other words, I want us to pause and feel good and look good while we're doing it, actually. I like to say we're the most gorgeous group of people on a Sunday morning gathered together, right? Look at each other and say, I love how you sparkle. I love how you sparkle, right? I love how you sparkle. You're beautiful people. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, the creative power responds to feeling more quickly than to any other mental attitude. Feeling. That means that spirit itself responds powerfully to us when we are emotional. And I don't know about you, but I want the creative power of the universe to be responding to my positive emotions and delivering me more of that. Those happy sparkle emotions of joy and laughter. I want spirit to be responding to that. I want those emotions to be dominant in my life rather than the intense emotions of what? Fear and anger and frustration and all the things that we are bouncing around in all the time. Because the way that the creative power responds to us is by sending us more experiences that give us more of whatever we are expressing. So whatever we're feeling, we're putting out, the creative power responds to that with more of the same. So that means if I can pause and add some sparkle to my days, spirit might just add some more sparkle, things to be sparkly about, right? It's all about perspective. It's all about perspective. If you want more sparkle in your life and in your world, you have to look for the sparkle wherever you go. So I want to tell you a story that illustrates this point. I love the story of the ancient traveler. Perhaps you've heard it. He walks up to the gate of a new city, and there's an old man sitting at the gate. And the traveler says, "What is this city like? Are the people kind? Is it a good place to live?" And the old man at the gate asks, "Well, what was the city like that you just left? Was it a nice place to live? Were the people kind? And the traveler replied, shaking his head, no, no, that's why I'm out looking. The place I just left was horrible. The people were cheats. The government was unfair. It was just awful. And the old man at the gate said, well, my friend, I'm afraid you're going to have to move on along because you're going to find the same thing here. Go on to the next city. The traveler thanked him and continued on his journey looking for a better place. And soon another traveler came to the gate and asked the old man the same questions. He said, is this a good city? Are the people nice? Are they fair? And the old man replied in the same manner, well, what was the city like that you just left? And this new traveler said, oh my, it was a wonderful city filled with generous, fair, and kind people. It was a great place to live. And the old man at the gate said, well, sir, come on in. You will find this city to be equally wonderful. The moral of the story is perfect for our lesson today, right? Because in life we find whatever we are looking for. Actually, we find what we are. What we are is what we find. So the question becomes, are you looking for and finding things that bring your emotions down? Or are you looking for the sparkle that gives your life joy? That's the question. So this means if I can have joy and happiness building within me, then that brings more happiness and joy flowing towards me. So how can I purposefully pause to sparkle, Reverend Laine? How can I bring more sparkle into my experience? I think the secret is to purposefully do the things that bring you joy, that add kind of a sparkle to your eye. You know, if you've been in my classes in the past or somewhere along the way, I have probably asked you to create a list of such things. It's time to take that out this month, that list. If you haven't been given that assignment, I'm going to give it to you now. Okay? I invite you to sit down with yourself, to pause, to sit down in a long pause and make a list of 100 things that makes your soul happy, that give you joy. 100 things. They can be big things. They can be little things. You know, here's a couple of mine. I love puppy breath. Puppy breath just gives me joy. I like walking on the beach. I like listening to children laugh. Not too loud, not too close, but you know, some children. I like homegrown tomatoes. I like getting my passport stamped. And I love colored pens. If you look in my office, you may or may not find hundreds of colored pens, right? Do you get the idea, right? Last Sunday, Monica's encouragement was to eat a peach, right? Meaning, since you have this magic suit, I call this a magic suit, you have this magic suit with the 5 senses that accompany it. Use those 5 senses to surround yourself with things like that that give you a happy moment. Make a list. It's a list of things that your human self does to connect you with your joy, your sense of your highest self. It's a list of things that you can do to show the God within you a really good time on this human plane. It's a list of things to add sparkle to your life. Oprah Winfrey says this, you have to find what sparks a light in you so that you in your own way can illuminate the world. This is a list of things that sparks a light in you. And if you're going to be a part of the illumination of the world, once you either dust off the list that you made a long time ago when I assigned it, or if you make a list today, start doing them. Pause every day to do one thing that adds that spark to your life. You know, we have an international spiritual leader in our organization. His name is Reverend Edward Villoon, and he wrote a book with the senior minister over in Fort Lauderdale, actually, Reverend Chris Michaels, and it's called the Prosperous Life Journal. And he encourages us to add joy to our life too, and this is what he said. Spend time with people who make you laugh. Do things that bring you joy. Go to a funny movie or a comedy club. Laughter isn't simply the best medicine. It is fuel for the soul. You know, last night I was clicking through just trying to kill some time, and I ran into America's Funniest Home Videos. Okay, so don't hang out with me when I watch America's Funniest Home Videos because I'm in tears. I laugh so much. But I'm doing that just literally to raise my vibration level. And that is the way to intentionally create sparkle. We can create it for ourselves. But I also invite you to pause for the sparkle that is available to you in everyday life. So often, what do? We just kind of sit at home and stay in our routine, and we don't trouble ourselves with the effort it takes to drive across town to do some of these things. We might be bored, but we're in our routine. But when we take that path, we miss so much. The truth is that there are many, many people in the world that are sparkling just to illuminate the world for you. That sparkle shows up as joy, as unexpected laughter, as music, as sights and sounds and smells and touches and tastes that are all around you, just waiting for you to literally come to your senses, get out of your routine, and stop and recognize them. And all you have to do is slow down and notice them. Pause for a sparkle. So I have another story. Several years ago, a man sat at a metro station in Washington, D.C. This is a true story. And he started to play the violin. It was this cold December kind of bleary morning, and he sat and he played Bach for about 45 minutes, Bach pieces. And during that time, since it was rush hour, it was calculated that 1,000 people went through the station, most of them on their way to work, right? So 3 minutes went by, and this middle-aged man noticed that there was a musician playing, and he slowed his pace and stopped for just a few seconds, and then he hurried up to meet his train. And a minute later, the violinist received his first dollar tip. A woman threw the money in the basket, but she just continued to walk. And a few minutes later, someone leaned against the wall to listen to him, but the man then looked at his watch and rushed away. Clearly, everyone was late to work. The one who paid the most attention was a 3-year-old boy, and his mother kept tugging him along, hurried the child, but the child stopped to want to watch the violinist. And the mother pushed him hard, and the child continued to walk, looking back at the violinist as he was walking away. And that action was repeated by several more children. But all the parents, without exception, forced them to move on. In the 45 minutes the musician played, 6 people, and only 6 people, stopped and stayed for a little while. About 20 people gave him money, but continued to walk at their normal pace. He collected $32 in that 45 minutes. And when he finished playing, just silence took over. There was no applause. No one noticed it. There was no recognition. No one knew this, but the violinist was Joshua Bell, one of the best musicians in the world. And he was playing one of the most intricate music pieces ever written. And he was playing a violin worth $3.5 million. And just 2 days before that experiment in the metro, Joshua Bell sold out a theater, and the seats averaged $100. That's a real story. Joshua Bell played incognito in the metro station, and it was organized by the Washington Post as a part of a social experiment about perception, taste, and priorities of people. And the outlines were, in a commonplace environment, in an inappropriate hour, do we perceive beauty? Do we stop to appreciate it? Do we recognize the talent in an unexpected context? So one of the possible conclusions from this experience could be, if we don't have a moment to stop and listen to one of the best musicians in the world playing the best music ever written, how many other things are we missing? You know, most of the time, we're rushing to our to-do list, aren't we? We're just rushing around. We're trying to get to where we're going to do the things we have to do, and most of us are trying to do it as efficiently as possible. Can I get an amen, or am I the only one? right? To be honest, I don't know if I would have noticed the person playing the violin in the metro station in DC. Even today, even after reading this, I probably wouldn't notice it either. The greater likelihood is I would be rushing through the metro station to the next museum or whatever I was headed to. But what we've got to remember is that taking the time to notice and create joy is healing. It's healing for us. You know, right now there's a lot of focus on mental health, isn't there? It's on the news a lot and all kinds of social media, and it just seems to be a topic getting a lot of attention because so many people have had their lives kind of upended by the changes brought on in the past year, by loss and uncertainty. Millions of us have sought help for depression and anxiety in the past 12 months. And I know this is happening to people here in this very room. I know it is. Mental health is simply crying out to be healed. Angeles Arian is a cultural anthropologist who writes extensively about the human experience, and she wrote this. In many shamanic societies, if you came to a medicine person complaining of being disheartened, dispirited, or depressed, they would ask one of 4 questions. When did you stop dancing? When did you stop singing? When did you stop being enchanted by stories? When did you stop being comforted by the sweet territory of silence? So I ask you today, when did you stop dancing and singing and enjoying stories and sitting in silence? When did we stop hearing the music, seeing the beauty and the sparkle in life? You know, ancient wisdom teachings show us that these things are so important. They're so important to our well-being. And if we don't get fed by those types of experiences, we do become disheartened and dispirited and depressed and anxious. It's what happens. So I think our highest self, our soul, our divinity, wants us to take a pause. That inner voice is saying, slow down, take notice, feel this moment, and experience all it has to offer. Why? Because God is present in this moment, showing up as the creativity, as the beauty, as the joy, as the connection in everything and in everyone. God is the sparkle of life, and it wants to shine through you, in you, and as you. And it invites you to pause and notice it within yourself and in everyone and everything else. Just pause. It's always there. It's just waiting your recognition, waiting for that. So look for the godness in this place. Look for it everywhere, and you will see it. And if you can see it here, guess what? You'll see it in the next city. If you can see it in this job, you'll see it in the next job. If you can see it in this friendship, you'll see it in the next one. You can pause and notice it in yourself, and you can get better and better at noticing it in everyone else. And the next time you watch women's gymnastics, notice the sparkle on their leotards and consider them little God winks of joy for you. They were put there just for you. And so it is. Thank you.